Hello again. It's back to Beardy's Top 13 Movie Countdown. I already did one earlier today, so I just finished watching my number 10 movie on my list. So if I did the classical top 10, I guess this is where my list would begin. But as I said before, I like going a little bit more than the typical 10. So counting back from number 13, we had Empire Records. Number 12 was Grosse Point Blank, and number 11 was the movie Once. And up next, we've got a real special gem. Now, I will say, I didn't really want to reference this at this point in the video initially, but I thought, why not? Because it's been such a big nostalgia kick this summer. There's a wonderful Netflix series that kind of came out of the blue and caught everybody off guard, and was a really, really big hit this summer. And that, of course, was Stranger Things, set back in the early 80s, when I myself was, well, too young to be riding around with those kids on that adventure, but I do remember, growing up during that time period. Now, this movie that I'm about to reveal is set during and around the time the bulk of the events of this movie take place right around the time I was actually born. It's set in 1979 in the summer. But yeah, so my number 10 on my top 13 countdown list is none other than J.J. Abrams' Super 8. And this is the really cool, I guess it's not a steel book, but it's like a metal pack or whatever, case that came out. I found it at Target a couple years ago, and I just thought it was really cool. So there's that. And it's got another really cool picture on the back. I realized I haven't really... Oh, look, reflections. Anyway, so yeah, Super 8 from J.J. Abrams came out a couple years ago. When did that come out? 2012? 2011? Anyway, I know there's a lot of hype over this movie when it first came out, which may have put some people off to how it played out once they saw it in the theater, because it was the big anticipation of being a follow-up or somehow connected to Cloverfield, which we know we actually got earlier this year in 10 Cloverfield Lane. And so that said, when this first trailer came out, we all thought maybe it's going to be like a prequel to Cloverfield, or at least my friends and I, that's what we were thinking. And it ends up not having anything to do with that, at least as far as we know at this point. But it was really cool. Like the trailer, the teaser, you just see this train wreck, and then indication that some sort of creature is busting out of this like sealed container car on the train. And of course, the movie, went to see it with some friends, and it was really impressive. It starts off, well, I'll say this, J.J. Abrams clearly comes from a childhood of growing up, and this movie is kind of an homage to his childhood and the filmmakers that he was so influenced by and found inspiration from. There's clearly some other things we'll get into, but obviously there's a strong affinity for Steven Spielberg, who just happens to be producer on this. Between just the filming style, the tones, the feels, the feelings and the elements in this movie, and even the music itself from Michael Giacchino, that are all very Spielberg-esque, and Michael Giacchino's music is very reminiscent of John Williams. It's definitely its own thing, but it evokes a lot of things from those movies from the late 70s and 80s that you would have expected from these guys, from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. There's definitely not a whole lot of direct like Star Wars type reference in there, but you definitely see some influence from Lucas and those things, and other movies from those genres at the time. So, Super 8 starts off with a very solemn scene. It's it's a factory, steel factory. And cool thing for anyone who lives around here in the central Pennsylvania area near Harrisburg, this movie, the town of Lillian, Ohio, is actually inspired by Steelton, Pennsylvania. You can learn all that on the commentaries and DVD extras or whatever that they have, which was where J.J. Abrams' grandfather grew up. And there's lots of little nods to his dad in all of his, or his, excuse me, his grandfather in most of his movies. You see it in Super 8. The gas station is Kelvin Gas Station, or Kelvin Gas or Fuel, or however it is. But that's a nod to his grandfather, who he had a lot of respect for. And again, it's all on the bonus features. You can see all that for yourself. There's the USS Kelvin in the first Star Trek that he did, and even in Star Wars Force Awakens, one of the geographical locations on Jakku that is mentioned is Kelvin Ridge. So anyway, I like seeing these little things that it's not always the same thing, but I like when I can see things from directors and creators that kind of incorporate different things that hop around. Like his Slusho drink was in a lot of his TV shows and even a couple of the movies and things. So anyway, it's set in 1979. You get this, so many days since no one was harmed, no accidents, in a factory, and the guy's taking the numbers down, and he puts up a 0, so you know that something really bad has happened, and opens with his funeral, and you learn that it's the main character Joe Lamb. It was his mother who died. She worked at the factory, and it's great. It's a really well paced scene. You meet Joe. You meet his dad, who's one of the deputies on the police department. You meet a bunch of the other kids that are Joe's friends, and you see a lot of their personalities. And then one of the conflicts you quickly get in the first scene is a man shows up, the long blonde hair, and he shows up to pay his respects, and Detective Lamb takes him out of the house. It's his house at the wake, and takes him downtown, or takes him away to arrest him or whatever. And you definitely get the feeling that this guy is not wanted there, and they just do a really good job of setting up so many elements. The only really big element that you don't get in the initial scene is with the character of Alice, who's a young girl that's becomes friends with the boys during the course of the movie. But that comes pretty quick in the next couple scenes. So most of the movie is set up for the character tensions, and it's done beautifully and quickly and very realistically. The guys remind me of kids I knew when I was in school, when none of my friends, I think, had cameras, so we didn't really do any of the filmmaking stuff. But just the attitudes and the types of kids, it's like seeing a lot of people I remember from my childhood, or at least several people rolled into different characters or whatever. So the course of the main bulk of the movie is these kids are filming a zombie movie, and there's some nods to George Romero, in it, in that they reference a Romero chemical plant, which is where the zombies came from, and it's just fun seeing these little things pop up in there. And again, it's great. They do a great job, just like Stranger Things did this summer, of making you feel like you were actually in the time period that the movie was set. And it's great. Like I see these things, like when they go into the film store a couple times, and which those are hardly even a thing anymore, but like you see the decorations and the ads and stuff in there, and it takes me right back to when I was a kid. And I'd go with my brother or someone to the mall, and we'd see things, and it was very reminiscent, and it just evokes a lot of nostalgia. This movie is very nostalgic from beginning to end with everything. So these kids are filming a movie, and they're out at night, and they see a train coming through. They're trying to get it in their film because they're at this like kind of abandoned train, not abandoned, but like remote train station, and for a scene, and you see a truck come swerving in, and it causes this massive train wreck, which is where we get to the trailer, the initial teaser, and it's an Air Force train, and something escapes, and stuff starts happening all throughout the town. So people are disappearing, electronics, all the dogs run away. It's just kind of slow build tension to what's actually going on. And there's just a lot of stress and tension. The father and son, Kyle Chandler plays the detective, or is he a detective or is he just a deputy? I can't remember now. I think he's just a deputy. delivers great. I mean, he kind of knocks out every role he's in, and he's actually in one of my other top 13 movies, but we'll get to that in a couple weeks. But he is such a great character actor, and I cannot recommend anything he's been in enough. Definitely check out Bloodlines on Netflix as well for great performances from him. But there's this great scene. There's this tension between the father and son over the loss of the mother. This is definitely he's definitely kind of got this alpha male vibe going for him, the father, the deputy, and he's clearly trying to do his best to be the best father for his son. Um, but maybe it's not the father that the son needs him to be. And there's this great moment where he's like, "You're not," because this girl that they get involved with, the boys in the making of their zombie movie, is the daughter of the man he took away at the beginning of the movie, who is the man who he blames for his wife's death because he didn't go to work that day and the wife picked up a second shift and she was there for the accident instead of the other guy. So there's all this hatred and animosity and all this stuff going on kind of like below the surface, and it comes up because the son has become friends with this girl, Alice, and the father is just like, "No, you're not friends with her, are we clear on this?" And the son has this big moment where he's like, "No, we're not clear. We couldn't be more less clear about anything." And it's just this kind of really interesting moment where the son kind of stands up for himself to his father, and the father goes on this little rant about how he's like, all the people in this town, they used to look up to someone to watch out for them and protect them and take care of them, but that person's gone now, so it's up to me. And then it's this silent kind of couple shots back and forth between the father and son, and just the weight of him realizing in that moment he's also explaining the entire situation between him and his son. That just, I don't know, I found that really powerful and really moving. But he's not ready to accept that to his son face to face. Like you see this recognition in his eyes, and I think it's beautifully acted. But anyway, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And of course, there's an alien. That's the big twist. I guess not really a twist, but that's the big surprise in the movie. There's an alien causing all these problems and what they do to resolve it. And it just has this really great heartwarming finale. Like it's a great movie. It's fun. Like I said, it's very nostalgic, very reminiscent of like E.T. and these early '80s movies. And it's great. It's good. It's good, clean fun, and it just delivers a lot of things that I miss from a lot of modern movies. But we got Stranger Things, which delivered a lot of the same things as well. So there we go. So there is my top 13 countdown. Movie number 10, Super 8 from J.J. Abrams, starring a great cast, a lot of up and coming young kids I've seen show up in a couple other places, and there it is. And I'll be back next week with number 9. Peace.